There's something about high school cafeterias that strips people down to their worst selves. Maybe it's the overwhelming noise. Maybe it's the way everyone pretends not to watch each other while secretly judging every move. At Lincoln High, the cafeteria during lunch wasn't just about grabbing a slice of pizza or scarfing down soggy fries. It was an unspoken battlefield where reputations were made or crushed within a heartbeat. That's where it all went down. It was a Thursday like any other, the kind of warm spring day that made juniors and seniors count down the weeks until freedom. Madison Cole had just finished a brutal pre-calc exam and was making her way to the Commons. Earbuds in, bag slung casually over one shoulder, and a half-read copy of Beloved in her hand. She moved through the crowd, unnoticed by most. Madison, 16, sharp-eyed, reserved, wasn't the type to command attention in loud, obvious ways. She observed, cataloged, remembered. Her favorite seat near the big windows was taken, so she drifted toward an almost empty table at the center. That's when she saw it, a backpack thrown squarely onto the middle of the bench, like a flag claiming territory. She paused. Standing a few feet away was the owner, a tall senior wearing a crimson varsity jacket, buzzcut hair, and a bored expression. His name was Carter Hayes. Everyone knew him, not because he was particularly brilliant or charming, but because people gave him space, like they gave space to potholes that never seemed to get fixed. Madison approached, calm as a still pond. She tapped the table lightly. "Hey," she said, her voice even but not unkind. "Can I sit here? Could you move your bag?" Carter didn't look up immediately. He picked half-heartedly at his cafeteria tray, pretending not to hear her. When he finally turned, he tilted his head, smirking like he couldn't believe she dared to speak to him. "You serious?" he asked, voice low and flat. Madison nodded once. "Just need a place to sit." He leaned back in his seat, making a show of it. His friends, two other seniors who orbited around him like lesser moons, snickered under their breath. Carter's mouth twisted into a grin. "Whole cafeteria's open," he said lazily. "And you picked this spot?" "It's not your table," Madison replied smoothly. "Just your bag." The smirk faltered. His jaw tensed ever so slightly, but Madison remained utterly still. She didn't blink, didn't shift her weight, didn't give him the satisfaction of visible discomfort. With a deliberate slowness, Carter yanked his backpack just a few inches to the side, barely enough space for a book, much less a person. "There," he said. "Knock yourself out." Most students would have walked away, found another seat, pretended it wasn't worth it. But Madison, as steady as ever, slipped into the spot without a hint of hesitation. She opened her book and began to read, as though the entire exchange hadn't even happened. Across the table, Carter kept darting glances at her, confused and increasingly irritated by her complete lack of reaction. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The noise of the cafeteria filled the air, trays clattering, chairs scraping, but at this table, the tension simmered just beneath the surface. Finally, Carter slammed his tray aside and turned toward her. "You think you're tough or something," he barked. Madison looked up, one brow arching in polite confusion. "Excuse me," I said. He repeated louder, "You think you're tough? Sitting there like you don't give a damn?" She regarded him not with fear, but a weary sort of patience, as if she had seen this play before and knew all the lines by heart. "I'm just sitting," she said simply. The laughter from Carter's friends grew louder. He stood up, looming over her now, casting a long shadow across the table. Conversations around them died down. Phones were pulled out. Madison closed her book gently. "Not moving," she said. Carter's hand slammed onto the table, making the trays jump. Then, with a mean little shove, he pushed her shoulder. Not hard enough to knock her over, just enough to try to humiliate. He was about to find out exactly how badly he misjudged her. Madison Cole wasn't just some quiet girl with a book in her hand. She wasn't looking for trouble. She wasn't chasing drama. But she knew exactly who she was because the world had made her know. She lived with her mother, Simone, and older brother, Elijah, in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment on the dusty outskirts of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Their home wasn't big, but it was filled with a fierce, unspoken love that wrapped around her tighter than any walls could. Her mom was a trauma nurse, often pulling 12-hour shifts without complaint. Elijah, barely 20, worked construction jobs while attending community college part-time. And he never let Madison forget the lessons he thought would protect her. You don't need to bark, he told her once. You just need to bite when it's time. And so she learned. Not through anger, not through theatrics. When she was 13, something happened in a park. An older man, lingering too long, saying the wrong things. She got away, untouched but not unharmed, and afterward, Simone enrolled her in self-defense classes. 3 years later, Madison could disarm someone holding a bottle to her throat. She could break a wrist hold, pivot her weight against bigger opponents, and stay calm under pressure. Krav Maga wasn't a hobby. It was a second skin, and she had never once bragged about it. She didn't need to. Back in the cafeteria, Carter mistook her silence for fear, mistook her stillness for surrender. He reached for her again, and that's when everything changed. Before he could even complete the motion, Madison shifted. In one fluid, controlled movement, she turned her shoulder, stepped into him rather than away, caught his wrist lightly and flipped his momentum back onto him. Carter Hayes, king of the cafeteria, landed hard on his backside, sprawling across the linoleum floor. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, slowly, a wave of whispers, gasps, and stifled laughter rolled through the room. Phones caught every angle. Madison stood there, relaxed, hands open, stance loose. She hadn't hit him. She hadn't screamed. She had simply removed his power. Carter scrambled to his feet, face red and thunderous. "You think this is funny?" he growled, fists clenched. Madison didn't flinch. She didn't smirk. She simply tilted her head and asked, clear as day, "Are you done embarrassing yourself?" The cafeteria broke open in a roar of laughter, whispers, and snapping phone cameras. Carter, seeing no easy way out, stormed off toward the office. Madison sat back down, opened her book again, and flipped the page with a calm, practiced flick of her wrist. 2 minutes later, the assistant principal, Mr. Reynolds, arrived, face tight with confusion. "Miss Cole," he said stiffly, "come with me." Madison slipped her book into her bag and followed without hesitation. The rest of the afternoon unfolded in a strange, surreal haze. Madison sat calmly across from Mr. Reynolds as Carter ranted about being thrown to the ground for no reason. Madison recounted her side in simple, unembellished terms. "I asked him not to touch me again," she said. "He did. I redirected him." Mr. Reynolds frowned. "Redirected?" "Yes, sir," she said without blinking. "I take Krav Maga. I didn't start anything. I just made sure it ended." By the time her mother arrived calm, composed, fierce in a quiet way, it was clear that the story wasn't going to end in suspension. Not for Madison. Not when half the school had already seen the video and knew the truth. By Friday morning, Madison Cole was a name on everyone's lips. The video was everywhere: Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, looping endlessly with captions like "The Queen of Calm" and "Don't start none, won't be none." People who had never looked twice at her now stared openly. Some smiled, some kept their distance. Carter didn't show up for school. Rumor was, he claimed he feared for his safety. Funny, considering who pushed who. Madison moved through the halls like always, calm, steady, unshaken. She didn't bask in the attention. She didn't shy from it either. She simply was. That Friday after school, as she was heading for the bus stop, she spotted him, Carter Hayes, waiting by the fence alone. She paused, wary but not afraid. He lifted a hand in an awkward half-wave. "I'm not here to start anything," he said quickly. Madison crossed her arms. "You don't need to say anything." "No," he said, voice cracking a little. "I do." He looked down, shuffled his feet. "I screwed up. I thought pushing you round would make me look tough. Instead, it made me look like a clown." Silence stretched between them. "I saw the videos," he continued. "The comments. I deserved them." Madison said nothing, letting him feel the weight of his own words. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." Finally, she spoke. Soft, steady. "Thank you for saying it." Carter nodded once, then turned and walked away without looking back. That night, folding laundry with her mom in their tiny living room, Madison smiled quietly to herself. Because strength isn't about noise. It's about knowing who you are and standing your ground when it matters most. And sometimes, That's enough to change everything.